Recognizing ancient civilizations is usually easy because they generally have the same features. They have rulers, they have magnificent palaces, they have grand monuments built to display power. But the civilization we are about to talk about had none of these. No rulers, no massive monuments, no famous leaders. Yet, they built some of the finest cities the ancient world had ever seen. And then, they vanished. This is the story of a world historians still cannot fully explain. The Indus Valley Civilization, a city that feels too modern. Imagine stepping into a city that is more than 4,000 years old. The streets are perfectly straight. There is not even a mention of slope. Houses are deliberately built in perfect alignment. From one side, you can see for meters and meters ahead. Beneath your feet lies a sewage system, far ahead of its time. And don't misunderstand this. It was not built to serve a palace, not for a temple either, but for ordinary citizens. In the Indus Valley, toilets were usually located inside homes. Wastewater was carried through channels running beneath the streets. This alone proves how advanced the system was. The channels did not run on the surface, causing pollution. Clean water was carefully managed. Such an advanced level of urban planning should not have existed at such an early point in history. But it did. And not in just one city. The Indus Valley Civilization covered an area larger than ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia combined. But here is the strange part. Despite all this perfection, we do not know who ruled it. Where are the kings? In ancient Egypt, pharaohs are everywhere. They left countless statues and monuments behind. In Mesopotamia, kings carved their names into stone. But in the Indus Valley? Nothing. No statues of kings, no magnificent palaces, no massive royal tombs. Archaeologists studied this for years. They noticed that houses were nearly the same size. They realized that cities were built with a striking sense of equality. There was no room for extravagance here. This raises a serious question. How does a civilization function without visible power or authority? If there were no rulers, who organized policies? Without officials, how were cities managed? If there were no grand temples, who handled religious affairs? Despite all this, the cities were planned with incredible precision. There must have been people with authority. Most likely there were. But it seems they did not want to be remembered. A civilization that avoided display. Most ancient civilizations wanted to impress. They built structures visible from far away. They carved their achievements into stone. The Indus Valley did the opposite. Their buildings were highly functional. Their art was small and simple. Their symbols were modest. Almost everything was built around minimalism. Even the seals they used for trade were understated. They consisted of animal figures and small symbols, simple signs. There were no long inscriptions praising gods or rulers. This feels like a civilization uninterested in fame or glory. They were interested only in balance. Perhaps that is why we struggle to understand them. The people of the Indus used writing. How do we know? Because script-like symbols appear on seals, pottery, and tools. But here is the problem. No one can read it. The inscriptions are very short. There are no long texts. Once again, minimalism shows itself. There is no equivalent of the Rosetta Stone for comparison. Every attempt to decipher the script has failed. We do not know their language. We do not know their beliefs. We do not know their stories. We do not know their laws. It is as if they wanted us to know they once existed, but did everything possible to remain unreadable. Despite all this mystery, some things are clear. The Indus Valley had deep connections with the ancient world. Mesopotamian sources mention a land called Meluha. Many historians believe this refers to the Indus region. Indus seals have been found thousands of kilometers away. Their goods crossed seas and deserts. This tells us something important. There were trade networks. There were rules. There was trust. And yet, there is still no ruler's name, no imperial seal, only a perfectly functioning system. Correction, a perfectly functioning system that worked in silence. Then, something happened. Streets slowly emptied. Urban life collapsed. Trade gradually weakened. But there was no invasion, no war. How do we know? There are no burned layers, no mass graves, no weapon remains. It is clear that there was no war. So, what happened? There are many theories. The climate may have changed. Monsoon rains may have weakened. Rivers may have changed their course. Trade may have collapsed. But none of these explanations are fully satisfying, because the disappearance was not sudden. Just as one would expect from the Indus civilization, it was slow and silent, as if the people simply left. Did they choose to disappear? This is the most unsettling possibility. What if the Indus Valley Civilization was not destroyed? What if it transformed, changed form? What if they chose adaptation over power struggles? What if they abandoned cities and became smaller communities? History usually remembers those who shout the loudest. Great empires, magnificent conquerors, ruthless dictators, authoritarian kings. But the Indus people left no remains that force us to remember them, almost like a criminal trying to disappear without leaving a trace. Perhaps that was the point. The lesson may be this. Common assumptions say, progress requires power, complexity requires control, authority is necessary. But the Indus Valley challenges all of these ideas. It shows a society that functioned without a clear hierarchy, a civilization that chose order over domination, function over display. And then it quietly withdrew from history. No final message, no warning, no dramatic ending, not even a whisper. Only silence. The forgotten world beneath our feet. Even today, much of the Indus region remains unexplored. Cities lie buried beneath the soil, their stories hidden behind undeciphered symbols. Every new discovery adds new questions to the old ones. And perhaps that is why this civilization fascinates us, not because of its technology, but because of its restraint. The final question. The question history still cannot answer is this: was the Indus Valley Civilization ahead of its time? Or was it something entirely different? Perhaps it changed what it means for a civilization to matter, a past that did not need to be remembered to be important. This was a forgotten world, and we are only just beginning to understand it.